I'm delighted this morning, especially after the busy fair yesterday, to be able to invite John Fox to come up and share with you the message this morning.
Thank you, Don, and good morning.
Good morning.
Well, as I get settled here, I come to you before you on Stewardship Sunday as chairperson of the Stewardship Committee. I drew the short straw, and I'm up here to say a few words about our campaign. First, I have to say I was surprised to read in the Spire that I was going to be the guest preacher today in preaching. I assure you that I confess I've preached to my students at work, I've preached to my son over the years, and when I occasionally preach to my wife, it's not been for long. But I do not intend to preach to you, my church family. Rather, I intend this to be an exhortation, a message that has grown out of what I have tried to do over the last few years, which is to listen to the Spirit and to listen to you as to where we are headed in the congregation. And I hope you will recognize in these exhortations ideas and concepts that come from you. Over the past year, our stewardship campaign was called Step Up in Faith, and indeed you all stepped up. So in discussion with our pastors and church leadership this year, we and the Stewardship Committee thought the theme should be Continue Our Mission and Empower Our Vision. And I purposely say that this year's stewardship is to continue our mission and empower our vision, because stewardship is not only about the 2 weeks where we talk about pledges and budgets, but it goes on throughout the year. So let us now pause and consider what is the mission of the First Congregational Church of Hanover. It's all on your bulletins. It says every year, every week, it is to make the love of God and the God of love known to all, as both are continued to be revealed to us. We'll talk about our vision later, but let's listen now to what and how we've stepped up in this past year in fulfilling this mission, and then use this in terms of our four strengths. In meaningful worship, we have updated our sound system in the sanctuary. We have better wireless microphones and speakers. We have amplifiers available so all in church may more easily hear the word. And I know we all appreciate the projector that lets us see innovative presentations on the new computer that Don does. We see this even in the brightest sunlight. We have improved the outdoor labyrinth with plantings and candles to make this experience even more peaceful and tranquil. And in both the indoor and outdoor labyrinths, we have funded artists to perform their music during special times in the church year. Focusing on community, we have given seed money to start a Hanover Habitat for Humanity house. We've reached out to the community with funding a series of speakers and programs called Walking the Path of Wholeness, Healing, and Holiness. We've established a program led by Don and supplemented by other speakers called Rediscovering the Spiritual Practice of Our Faith. We've also held luncheons and special events for those in our congregation who cannot easily get out, as they have in years past. In caring for our youth and children, we've replaced broken classroom equipment, added other equipment to make the church school experience more enjoyable for the children and more workable for those who volunteer as teachers. We have underwritten the youth mission trip, which has had a huge impact not only on our youth, but on the congregation as a whole, as we've listened to the good that's been accomplished by our young people in the hurricane-ravaged areas. We have given seed money for the Heifer Ark so that our children can learn about this important ministry. And most significantly, we have funded an associate pastor whose main job is to be our youth minister to keep these vital programs going. In terms of leadership and empowering our leadership, we've created opportunities for staff for continuing education to pursue courses in web design so we can be more efficient in communicating to our congregation and to the community. Adult seminars with Book of the Month reading programs have been established. And the trustees have gone ahead and done much needed repairs on the church steeple, the front entryway of the parish hall, and there are plans to have a new refrigerators installed in the church kitchenette. I know I've missed several things that have gone through this, but this gives you a light, just sort of a keyhole into what we've done over the past year when we stepped up. These programs were made possible through your pledges and from monies in the Memorial Fund, special projects, pastor's discretionary fund, flower fund, and the Whiting Elderly Fund. These latter monies had sat unused for a long time. It is clear to me, and I hope it's clear to you, that your gifts to our church are now being used in a prayerful and conscientious way to improve our church. Monetary gifts that you will be asked to pledge in the next few weeks. Our mission to make the love of God and the God of love known is revealed to us and will continue to be revealed to us in the future. And this involves true stewardship, not just now when we talk about budgets and pledges, but throughout the year. And in this past year, we have done well, and we should be glad of that. Now let's talk about our vision for the next year and how we can empower it in troubled economic times. As I was preparing this message and thinking about the lectionary for today, I thought back to my mom. My mom was a child of the Great Depression, and no matter how good the economy was, no matter how well off we were, she always worried about the times and the money. Over the last 2 months, if she were alive, she would have been terrified as comparisons to the Great Depression have been invoked. As Wall Street and world economies drop and jobs are lost, I cannot help but see the fear building around us in our society. Now, during this time, I was shared an email on stewardship by the church office, and it was one of those times when I didn't feel like listening. I thought, oh no, more spam. I was too busy to do this, but for some reason I did open it, and in it, was a sermon on stewardship given by Dr. James Antal, who was a senior pastor of the Mass Conference of the UCC. And when I read it, realized if you just listen, things will come your way, because he talks about stewardship and church vision in troubling times. And although he did not mention us, he is talking about our church. He starts out, and I'll read just parts of this here. He says, "This is an opportunity for our church to articulate a new understanding of the vocation of the church. One of the consequences of this financial crisis is that our people are in need of a vision that only church can offer. It is a vision of abundance in a world of scarcity. It is a vision of security in a world of fear. It is a vision of generosity in a world of greed, and it is a vision of giving in a world of getting. It is a vision of sufficiency in a world where there's never enough, and it is a vision of justice in a world that writes off people as readily as it writes off bad debts." Now, I would say to you, this is the vision that your pledges fund throughout the year. When last January in church meeting, you said we were scarce of funds to accomplish any new programs, we found abundance, and these programs went through. They went forward. I see generosity in this church in the many programs that Outreach and Service administer, and I see security here, where all are allowed to worship freely with us, without fear of retribution from us, because no matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. I see in this congregation a sense of justice in this openness for all to be welcome to hear the word. And I saw in the young people who, when they came back from their mission trip, a feeling of outrage that things had not been rebuilt from Katrina, and that will continue on in their lives. This is the vision that our pledges will fund. It is a vision of abundance, security, generosity, sufficiency, and justice that this church has been about since its founding when this church started, and it is about now as I look around the people who sit in the sanctuary. Now, Dr. Antal continues his sermon, and he says, "As a follower of Jesus, I believe that our question must be, how can we unstop our ears and listen anew to Jesus' most frequent command? Fear not." We need not be fearful of the possibility of dwindling donations from discretionary income. We need not be fearful of the consequences of foreclosures or inflation. And we need not be fearful that our largest donors will curb their generosity. And why is that? Because we have been called to lead communities of faith in a time when such communities offer exactly what the world needs to learn to thrive in a new way. In response to a world dominated by fear, God has called us to gather people as disciples of the Lord of love.